Are we live?
I believe so.
Someone confirm that we are live. Are we live? Oh, that was me.
Yes.
Confirm that we are live.
Okay, I think we should mute the...
Who's playing it? It's not me, I don't think.
Not me.
Is it muted?
I can't hear anything.
I think so. I don't know where that came from.
Okay. Well, we're assuming that we don't have the echo anymore, and we know that we are live. Happy St. Patrick's Day to anyone who celebrates. I celebrate by staying inside and avoiding the people who are out at bars getting drunk, and also by wearing my fancy green hat. This is our March Stitch and Bitch, regularly scheduled. Wow. On time, right month, right place. And we are, let's see, let's go around and do some introductions. I will start. I am Kelsey. I am the Fancy Hat Lady Reads here and on TikTok. If you are here, you found my channel. And I mostly read and discuss SFF genre books. And let's see, Rachel, you can go next because I can see Di has a cat situation.
I see the tail. I'm Rachel. My channel is Kalanati, though I'm mostly active here in the Stitch and Bitch every month these days. I feel like I shouldn't say like, oh, I read certain things. I have been reading very little so far this year. But when I am reading, I read a lot of science fiction and fantasy and nonfiction. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I do lots of crafts with wool.
Di?
My name is Diana. My channel is Bookish Di, and I legitimately need to edit stuff that I have filmed. I just don't feel like editing. And I also read science fiction, fantasy, and nonfiction. And I will also mention today is St. Gertrude's Day, as well as St. Patrick's, and she is the patron saint of cats.
This is such good news.
Oh, okay.
There's two St. Gertrudes, and the other St. Gertrude is November 16th, but the
cat one is today?
The cat one is the 17th, yeah.
Oh, good. I don't know if I should divulge my cat news just yet, or if I should wait until next.
You might wait. Just because the universe is that way.
Because the universe is that way. There may or may not be a new cat soon. I don't know. I am assuming everyone who's watching this stream and knew my last cat, Jamie, knows by now that she passed away in December. I was a little bit sporadic in announcements about that, but I have been working on a cat adoption process. It's been emotional. And hopefully there will be a new Stitch and Bitch cat friend soon, like very soon.
Yes.
Like tomorrow soon. Oh. Sorry, I should probably respond to this text message if anyone wants to talk about what they are crafting.
Yeah, and by the way, we are expecting Rhea still.
Oh yes, we are expecting Rhea still.
It's just all of us Americans forgot that George W. Bush screwed with daylight savings 2 decades ago, and our daylight savings starts like 3 weeks before Europe's. So there was a little time zone miscommunication.
Yeah.
We think Rhea will be here by the top of the next hour at the latest.
But yeah, thanks, Bush.
What we're making?
Yeah.
Yes.
I am not actually making anything right now. I have 60 grams of a BFL Dorset wool to pick by hand, and if I get that done, I've got 87 grams of a Romney BFL cross to hand pick. So I'm sitting here just picking open locks of wool, which is why you'll see me looking down a lot.
So with handpicking, is it the same as carding?
No, they're all different stages. So I'm picking these open by hand right now to open either end of the lock and to let some of the debris fall out. And then I will fully do it on my hand combs.
Okay.
And at that point it'll be spinnable, but I may decide to blend it with some other stuff on my drum carder after that. So
Okay.
but this is the most tedious portion, and I thought I wasn't going to have to do it because this wool is so nice, but if you don't open up the tip end and the butt end of a lock, it can just turn into a big old knot as you're trying to comb it. So yeah.
I can go next. I am still working on my Rose City Yarn Crawl shawl, but I'm getting to the end. I'm at week 5. So
Very nice.
So yeah, there's some cabling. There's like this weird stripy part. It's more interesting because last year was a scarf. It's more interesting, but I'm not quite sure how I'm going to feel about the finished product. Mostly because like it's with the yarn crawl stuff, like I find they have like you can see where each week is. It doesn't kind of blend into one.
Oh yeah.
That's how this one feels.
Yeah.
So
I have a little bit of light mending to do, but I'm not sure I'm actually going to be able to get it. And ooh, is this the answer? Is this the answer to my? No, it's not. Alas, those are not the right buttons. I have a couple shirts that need a little bit of mending. One of them, I went looking for the shirt I normally wear on St. Patrick's Day and realized it was in my mending basket because it's got a button missing. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to replace this button with anything that I have on hand, because the buttons on this shirt are like round globe buttons. And I kind of thought in the back of my mind that I maybe actually had a spare one of these buttons somewhere. And I'm just, if I do, I'm not seeing it here where it belongs. And I don't really have any other like globe shaped buttons I can, because like if I had anything that would work with the shirt that I had 2 of, I could replace both the ones on the cuffs, and then the other one on the cuff could be a spare for if any of the ones on the front ever got lost. But I'm not sure I even have anything that I can reasonably replace the 2 cuff buttons with that would look like it wasn't a terrible mistake. So that might be stymied. And then the other bit of mending I can do is this shirt that I thrifted recently. Still got the tag on it, but tried it on, absolutely loved the cut of it, how it fits. It looks gorgeous. Where's the tear? There's a small tear on it somewhere. I'll find it. But also, I have a question for those of you who maybe know fibers a little better than I do.
Mhm.
which is, if it says that it is 68% cotton, 28% nylon, and 4% spandex, do I believe it when it says it's dry clean only?
No.
Oh, Ray is here.
Yes. I
Hey,
don't see why that would be dry clean only, unless
I don't see why that would be dry clean only either. Rhea, you know fibers. I have thrifted a shirt. It's very cute.
yes.
It says that it's 68% cotton, 28% nylon, 4% spandex, dry clean only.
Yeah, because nylon and spandex do not behave like they cannot handle as high temperatures as cotton can. So cotton would be like 40 to 60 degrees Celsius wash,
But it
whereas
would be
spandex
fine.
and nylon
It
would be
fine,
cold wash.
Like cold wash, hang dry.
Yeah, I find cold wash hang dry works for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like there are certain things like silk that I get dry cleaned because I don't trust my own setup process. But for like nicer shirts that I have that say dry clean only, I find, like I said, wash cold hang dry works just as well.
Yeah, I have
The cotton though is like so you would have to wash it colder than cotton, which might mean that the cotton content in the fiber would not get clean, for example, in terms of like sweat and stuff. But in that case, I would put vinegar in the pre-wash cycle, which usually breaks down your
I don't
urea.
think I can do that in my building's laundry machines, but
You
I
can
can
really
hand
just put
wash
vinegar in the drum directly.
vinegar in the drum directly.
Like vinegar does nothing to like it doesn't break the machine in any way. It's a natural solvent. Sorry, I'm late. I completely missed that you are in a different like.
No, like
you
this
forgot to.
We figured it out. We were like, oh no.
forgot that there's that on either side of daylight savings.
Yeah,
that
we're
time.
moving like in 2 weeks is our like move to like summertime.
But if there's any like, just hand wash protocol even that I could have just for this shirt, it's not like I'm gonna wear it a ton.
I would just wash it by hand, to be honest.
Yeah, like I'm fine hand washing if I know that it needs to be like hand washed cold, and like if you said it needed vinegar first and then regular hand wash.
Yeah, like vinegar usually is what I put in the pre-wash anyway, because it gets rid of like anything from like cat urine to like sweat stains.
Yeah.
Like it breaks down urea.
Yeah. I need to get some more white vinegar for like cleaning my bathtub, but
because like I did not pay enough for this shirt at the thrift store for it to be worth the dry cleaning bill. But where is that tear I was going to fix? Anyways, it's a super cute shirt. I don't know if you can see the snot. It's got
That is very you.
It's got this kind of tailored in the waist with this textured patterning on the front. I could just like sort of slip it on over the shirt. That would show over what I'm wearing. It is very me, but you can, it buttons up like.
So it's a blouse or a jacket?
It's a blouse.
Is there any kind of structural, like, is it lined or is it just like as is?
It's not lined, no.
Okay, so then you usually dry cleaning, as far as I'm experienced, is that if you have any internal structures in the clothing, like for example jackets or like
yeah, no,
gowns
it's
or
not
stuff.
something that I would have expected to be dry clean only. Which is why I was surprised when I got it home and was like, I'm just buttoning it up so you can see, because I love the styling on it.
Yeah, I would probably hand wash that.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Gesundheit.
Gesundheit.
It's like very warm, and I think the pollen's starting.
Oh,
yes.
it started a
Oh,
couple
yes.
weeks here.
Ah, yes. The what's the? Is it willow? Yeah, I think willow. Willow is blooming here right now.
Fortunately, I don't
Everything
think I have
is
any of those god-awful Bradford pear trees near me. The ones
So-
that smell like dead fish.
Ah, yes, the ones we talked about last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently, so I saw a news article, South Carolina has banned those trees and like has a program where if homeowners have those trees on their property, they'll like give them free native trees if they cut down their Bradford pears.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I'm like, yes, we need that everywhere. Those trees are menaces.
But yeah, I would wash that, like hand wash it all by itself,
Yeah.
no other clothing, in about 30 degrees Celsius.
So like lukewarm-ish.
Yeah, like
Heating
like
something?
hand temperature.
Yeah.
Little
Yeah.
bit lower than your body temperature, like 10 degrees lower than your body temperature.
So probably like 80 degrees.
Super
I
doable.
will-
Like I hand wash individual garments just in my bathroom sink. That's fine. I just don't want to have to dry clean it. And I can't find the tear in it. Oh, was it in? I know there was a tear in it somewhere that I'm mending. Rhea, do you want to
86.
introduce yourself and then say if you're making something?
Yeah, 86 degrees is Fahrenheit, the 30 degrees Celsius. Anyway,
Ah.
Hi, I'm Rhea. Sorry I'm late. I was watching K-drama and people were messaging me, and I finally saw Rachel's message. to me,
We were
like,
thinking it was Baldur's Gate.
well, I yesterday it would have been Baldur's Gate. Today I was watching K-drama because I found a new series. I'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I want to know what you're watching.
I'm still making the sweater. I'm past the ribbing.
You have made good progress.
Nice.
Yes, I'm past the ribbing, and yeah, that's me. I still have the channel, the Bookfinch. Maybe I'll make a return. I do have a decent amount of books that I could make a book haul now, and I have actually charged my phone that I use to film videos. So it's baby steps. It might happen. Anyway, that's me. It's a crazy Sunday.
Shall we move on to books, or did we want to do maybe a little bit of reaction to the Nebula short
Let's
list?
talk books first.
Okay. I have lots of books to talk about, but right now I'm sewing, so I'm going to toss it over to Rachel.
I have been reading very little, as I said before. I've got a couple of things to mention, though. What have I finished since the last live show? I read another volume of A Sign of Affection. I read volume 5.
Nice.
And I was so upset because that was the last one that my library had. But I just got a message yesterday that they bought volume 6, so I'm on hold for it. So I will try to be patient and wait for it for free from the library rather than just.
I have
everything.
basically all of the volumes now waiting to like get picked up from the library.
I do plan on trying to watch the anime.
Yes.
I just haven't been watching
I-
anything either.
I'm currently actually on pause with Crunchyroll because I'm saving money this month, but I'm planning on binging everything because I have a bunch of series, so I will binge everything next month.
Yeah. Yeah. So I read that, and I think the only other book that I finished in the last month, I read the Book of Lost Things by John Connolly, which is an older one. I can't remember. I think it might have come out in the early 2000s or something. Anyway, read that because it's one of my friend's favorite books, and we read it for book group, and I liked it. It was okay. It was dark, fairy tale-ish. Not a children's book, though. There are a surprising number of decapitations in that book. And now I've started a bazillion things. I'm about a third of the way through Immunity Index by Sue Burke. I've had 2 of her most recent books sitting unread on my shelf. I was like, I'm going to finally read them this year. And now I know why I put off reading Immunity Index, because when did this come out? I think this
Is it the pandemic book?
It came out in 2021, which means it was probably written before the pandemic or very, very early days.
But doesn't it deal with a pandemic, though?
It does.
Yes.
Not only does it deal with a really terrible pandemic, it also deals with a really extreme radicalized American politics scene.
Oh no.
And so, surprisingly, I'm not that bothered by reading about a pandemic. It's actually kind of interesting because one of the point of view characters is a geneticist, basically, who is working through the nitty-gritty science details. They also designed designer babies, which is the other part of the story's clones and genetically modified people, and basically a class system that is instituted in the US. It's bad.
Does it differ from the class system that you already have in place?
Yes. Yes. And it didn't replace it, it just made things even more complicated. So yeah, I started reading it, and it's quite compelling. Like, I'm interested in the story, but because it's the political situation that's getting to me, and the president is this like major background character, and it's like, even if this wasn't written at the end of 2020, it sounds exactly like things that He Who Shall Not Be Named was doing during the pandemic, you know?
Oh no.
We're gonna stop a pandemic by flying the American flag because it came from China. I know. And we're in an election year, so it's just triggering me a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Aside from that, it's good. It's not like blowing me away, but it's good. I tend to like Sue Burke's stuff. And
Does it compare to oh no, what, Semiosis and the other one?
So Semiosis is still my favorite book by her.
I loved Semiosis.
Yeah, I love that, and I think style is kind of consistent with that, but you know, the setting and the topic of it is pretty different. But by the way, there is a third book coming out in the Semiosis series, which I thought was complete with a duology, but there is a third book.
But here's the thing: the way the second one ended,
I know,
like it's ripe for something like a spin-off, like not necessarily a direct continuation, but like a spin-off set in like a few hundred years later or something.
Oh yeah.
I would be. Oh, I'm very into that.
I forget what it's called. It starts with a T, I think. Turbulence, maybe.
I am very into that idea. I really like those books, like both of them.
I had more mixed feelings about Interference.
Yeah, I mean, I still maintain that Semiosis was probably my favorite of the two, but as a duology, I think they were really cohesive.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: I could read Semiosis as a standalone, but at the same time, I do think that like the second one adds a lot to the like overall world and story.
Mm-hmm. Goodreads doesn't want to load for me today.
Also, Rachel, I mean, the what's your
usurpation? That's what it's called.
What's your describing with the immunity index read reminds me of when I was reading Octavia Butler's Parable of the Talents and Parable of the Sower, because those books were pretty much the same to me, like especially when I was reading.
Read those books in 2016 or 2017 when everything was just exploding here.
Yeah, I read those. I read those during your last presidential cycle, so in like 20, like the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh no.
So this comment here is something that I have my own personal theories on, but I'd like to hear other people's. What is it with authors writing sequels and companion pieces to assumed finished series? I feel like it's become more common in the past few years. I don't know if you're talking about like just finished series or like assumed standalones. I feel like I've been seeing a lot of books published as standalones that the authors might want to publish as first books in series, but don't know if they can sell the sequels.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I get sort of tricked into reading books that I think are going to be complete standalones, and then they have like slightly open endings, and then eventually they get sequels announced if they get popular enough.
Yeah.
That's the thing I feel like I'm seeing a lot, and I feel like that's because authors want to commit to a series, but publishing won't let them until the first book proves.
And this drives me crazy because I don't think that many stories need to be an entire series. Whatever happened to just telling the complete story in one book?
I love a good real standalone, yes. And then I think in terms of series that seem to be a completed series, but then get like more books, like a spin-off series, like one of the books I want to talk about today is Graceling Realm, because I read Sea Sparrow, where like...
No spoilers. I haven't read it yet.
Okay, no spoilers. It was this is book 5 in a series that everyone thought was complete at 3 books.
Well, and that is a great series, in my opinion, for writing companion novels. And like, you can read it as a series. You can also read them as standalones. Like, that's great.
Yes, although I would not recommend reading Sea Sparrow without reading the prior books.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it's a whole new protagonist.
I still think that, like, for example, like authors might have wanted to start a book even as a standalone, and then just find, especially when new authors have had more books come out and they've kind of like established their writing craft and how they approach a story and stuff, that you just might want to like explore, like go back to an old story and be like, hey, I have something to explore here, right? Like, for example, the Realm of the Elderlings was supposed to finish with the Tawny Man originally, and then Robin Hobb went back and wrote the other books. But Tawny Man ends in like it ends in a way that could be read as a sort of ending to Fitz and the Fool. Not to say that, because obviously I haven't read the next part in the series yet, but having talked with Maya about this, like she was originally kind of surprised when she came up with a new series.
And so like I don't know like which books or series this original comment was responding to, but I definitely think that there's industry pressure on authors to like either deliver more of a sure thing, or if they already have an established series that the publisher knows will sell, or to hold back on committing to the book being a series until book one does well. And do I wish that we had a better idea of how long a series was going to be when it started being published? Yes, that would be good. Because there are series where I find like I feel committed because I'm so many books in, but I no longer care. Like Seanan McGuire's Wayward Children series, which if that had just been like 3 or 4 books, like that would have been great.
Yeah.
And to me, it feels like it's gone too long. I don't know.
See, for me, this is an interesting thing because I read a lot of manga, and a lot of the manga series that I read are like 40 plus volumes with no ending in sight. So I'm just kind of used to the fact that, you know, sometimes you just hop on a series and you have no idea when it's going to end, or if it's gonna be a short series of like 8 volumes, or like a juggernaut like One Piece with like its 80 plus volume run and stuff. And like, for example, right now it's like, okay, Delicious in Dungeon, which I like, I keep me and a bunch of other people are constantly speculating, is this gonna be the last volume? Is this gonna be the last volume? Who knows? Maybe.
Wasn't 14 the last volume because the author wanted to play Baldur's Gate 3, which, like, if that's true, is so real of her.
Not sure. I have not the only manga author currently that I keep tabs on is Kamame Shirahama because I follow her on social media.
I do want to say, with regards to Suzanne Collins, Saba Tahir, and TJ Klune, I didn't know there was more Saba Tahir happening. Is presumably in the same world as Embryo.
It was just announced like last month or in January that I think it's following different characters, but it's set in the same world. And then with Suzanne Collins, I'm a little less like, why are you, I mean, with Snow, because it's President's Home, like, yeah, why are you doing this? But I think with the way she set up her world, you could go back and do prequels. And then for TJ Klune, we didn't need more of his 60 scoop fantasy.
I think for none of them is this really a question of did we need more, but more in a sense of that, like, whether the author feels that creatively they want to return to this world, or the publisher really wants it. Like, obviously these authors and series have huge followings, and someone thinks that they can get more out of that. And I don't necessarily feel like there's been more of that recently than there's ever been. I feel like that's always happened. But maybe I don't know. I feel like there's always been a good deal of, you know, return to the world of type stuff to sell books.
Oh, Joe has a question about Delicious in Dungeon, which I know the answer to. So the most recent episode in Delicious in Dungeon, if I remember correctly, ends about where volume 5 or 6 happens. So with regards to the current, I am estimating that Delicious in Dungeon will finish in 26 episodes in anime, because that is basically a standard season 2 kind of like 26 episode is basically a standard length of an anime show, and they have enough material, I think, to finish it in that amount of time, unless something happens and the manga isn't finishing, which I would then assume that they will do a season 1, or they will finish up the story like kind of as an original like ending, as opposed to following the manga's ending.
Like what the original Full Metal Alchemist did.
Yeah, basically.
I'm pretty sure it did. Like I've seen, like I think I've seen that the manga did end, and it was
I think the manga ends in like next 2 volumes, like so volume 13 and volume 14.
Yeah.
I think it has ended in Japan, if I'm like remembering correctly.
Is it one of those series that's being simultaneously translated and published in English, or is there
Yes,
a wait?
yes, similarly to Witch Hat Atelier.
Okay.
Basically, which so last year in Japan, I think volume 13 came out in Japan for Delicious in Dungeon, and it's gonna be translated this year. Hermes is eating cardboard.
Rachel, did you get to the end of what you were reading, or did we hijack?
Yeah, that was it. Well, did I mention The Saint of Bright Doors?
Yes.
No, you mentioned it before we went
Oh,
live.
okay. Yeah, I'm listening to the audiobook of The Saint of Bright Doors by Vajra Chandrasekhara. Chandrasekhara. Who I would swear I read some of his like short fiction back in the day in like Strange Horizons or something, because his name is so familiar to me. Anyway, it is a very interesting novel. I just jumped into it on somebody's recommendation and didn't even read the description. So
I am cheating a bit.
Oh, you're bribing him?
Yes.
Aww.
I think this is the closest we've ever seen him on a live show.
Yes.
I don't know if we'll see more Luke and Leia because they're currently curled up sleeping on the book throne.
But bribery works.
Mm-hmm.
And now he escaped immediately.
I think he's much bolder than he used to be.
Yes, I think so too.
Rhea, are you reading things? Do you have things that you've read to share?
Yes, so I finished Subtle Blood by KJ Charles, so I am now finished with the Will Darling trilogy. It was good. It was very, very nice. I was hoping for some more domesticity between Will and Kim, but I'll take what I can get. Also, I want either a second series that's all about Phoebe and Maisie just doing their sapphic adventures.
Yes.
Because I feel like they were completely underutilized in that series. I mean, the series was fine, but I'm just saying there was a definite lack of Maisie and Phoebe, especially in the third book where they just sort of like hung around.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm reading Hither Page. I just started it today. And so far it's been very nice. I'm especially fond of the Doctor. So that is something. And then what else? What else have I been reading? Oh, I'm still reading that. Remember that webtoon that I talked about where the main female character like faked her own death?
Yeah, where we did not approve of the romance?
Yeah, that's still ongoing. Now the husband is trying to find her. And I'm still wondering, like, how is this gonna turn into a romance? Like, this is like so bad. But it's like a train wreck. Now that I've committed to watching it, I must see how it unfolds, but I'm terrified every time a new chapter comes out.
I know you said that the romance is supposed to be between the husband and the wife, but what I really want to happen is she's on the run, she hires a hitman to murder her husband, and then she falls in love with him.
So that's what one would wish, but I know for a fact that because the whole like thing, because the series is called Betrayal of Dignity, and the first person to have their dignity kind of shattered was the wife, because the husband kind of lured her into the marriage. And now we're at the part where the wife has outsmarted the husband, so his dignity isn't shattered. So it's basically, I don't even know. It's a really toxic like
this is terrible.
The husband is like an armada of red flags. It's like it's like like an Olympic parade in Soviet Union or something. That's the amount of red flags there is with these characters. Like seriously, it's not great.
I really hope that other people reading this are as appalled. At the
And
message
apparently
given.
there is also a web novel that this comic is based on
Oh.
that I could
So
also
people know
read.
where it's going.
Yeah, because this is an adaptation. So if I wanted to, which I won't because I don't want to pay for it. Because now I'm reading it as part of my Manta subscription, so I'm not individually paying for the thing. But if I wanted to read the novel, I would individually have to buy the ebooks. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. In fact, that is the opposite of what I want. But yeah, there is that. And then another series that I have been reading lately is the okay, this is a long one, so I have to actually Google it.
A long title?
Yeah, the title is freaking what My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. That's the title of the series. It's basically a story where this girl is playing an online video game with her boyfriend, and she isn't a gamer, but she started playing the game with her boyfriend to kind of get closer to her and to him, and then the boyfriend ends up cheating on her with another person from the game, and they break up, and she meets this other guy who's also playing the game, and they start sort of dating, and it sounds convoluted, but it's actually really wholesome, and it's all about like this online gaming community. They're in a guild together in the video game, and like he kind of learns to become more like social with her, and she learns to kind of appreciate the whole like video game culture and stuff. So it's like very kind of like opposites attract, and how they kind of find like even when they're like super different people, they kind of like find parts in each other that kind of make them grow as people. Like it's really wholesome. So I've been just reading that series. Like I think I read like 5 volumes in a single day because I just got so hooked. I did watch the anime. The anime was like 13 episodes or so, which is like I think it halfway point of where the manga is currently published is where the anime ended. And because it's animated by Madhouse, I'm not sure if they're ever gonna do a second season, because second seasons are not really their style.
What's the point of starting something if you're not going to finish it?
Well, you know,
That's so frustrating.
Well, yes, but
No buts.
but the manga is really cute. It's really cute. So those are the things I have been reading.
Di?
I'm already having a much better reading month in February, where I only read like 3 things. But they're all bangers. Like the lowest thing I rated was Assassins of Thassalon. And that was like a 4.5 or something.
Oh, okay.
Like in February, I didn't read a lot, but they were all bangers. Like they were all bangers. Yeah, it was Assassins of Thassalon, The Spear Cuts Through Water, and They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us. And like I said, all amazing, would all recommend. But this month I read Butcher of the Forest, the new Premi Muhammad novella, and I really liked it. It's like dark fairy tale vibes.
I need someone to tell me exactly how spooky it is.
It's not... I didn't find it spooky, but it's dark. Like it's dealing with like child death, the aftermath of living in a conquered area, a forest that eats children.
Would you call it horror, or is
I'd say it's like horror adjacent.
Horror adjacent.
It's like I would say It's a little spookier than than like Nettle and Bone.
Okay.
I also
I
read a
want
book.
to read it, but I like, and it's not that like I'll be scared off by stuff necessarily. I just need to know what to expect.
Yeah. I also read a book that I can't talk about because it's a St. Martin's Press title, which is annoying because it's very much like my brand of true crime. Whereas
boycotting them or something.
yes, Readers for Accountability has more, but it's a marketing boycott because the Too Long Don't Read, an employee who's in charge of Wednesday Books, their YA imprint, was saying some really racist stuff about Palestinians in the aftermath of October 7th. And then when the supervisor was asked like how they were going to respond, people were just brushed off.
The thing that really gets me about this whole situation is when you actually look at the demands of the boycott, how utterly and completely reasonable they are.
Right.
Like any PR department of any major company like should be able to turn around this statement in 24 to 48 hours, right? Saying like, what, we respect reviewers of color, and we want to offer equal opportunities, and et cetera, and the fact that they have not been willing to say anything is like,
well, it shows where their values are.
it shows exactly where their
and
values are.
It's just really frustrating. Like Kelsey said, the responses are reasonable. There's been some disinformation going around that like, oh, they're asking for this person to be fired, and that is nowhere
That
in
is
the
not
demand.
what
Like,
they are asking for.
they are not asking for there to be this like for this person to lose their job.
Right. They are asking for, responsibility and accountability in the way that this publisher's marketing team is interacting with the community.
Yeah.
So, and to be clear, it's not a like book buying boycott. It's not a consumer boycott. It is just an influencer boycott for discussing and reviewing and promoting titles.
It's drawing inspiration from the HarperCollins boycott in late 2022, early 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So that one, and then I also read The Imposition of Unnecessary Obstacles, the new Malka Older one.
Yeah.
And that one, I'm not sure if it's a novella or a very short novel because it's a little over 200 pages, so it's like borderline. But I enjoyed it. It was a fun time. Those types of mysteries for me are like what I count as cozy. Like, yes, there's some death, but like there's good relationships, and like you see what's going on with Masa and Pleedy develop, and you get a little bit more world building. So that's, for me, like thinking about those books kind of boils down to like why the discussion around cozy can be so frustrating, because everyone has their own personal definition of cozy. Like for me, Legends and Lattes was not cozy because I'm like, why do I want to listen about like this person starting a business and having it be like all about capitalism? That's not cozy.
I don't know if, I don't think I had finished reading the first book when we had our last live stream, The Mimicking of Known Successes. But for me, what felt cozy about it was the sort of approach to the world building, where even though everyone who lives there sort of agrees that it's kind of like not a great situation for humanity to be living in, like we would rather be living on a planet with natural life and stuff, it's still like it's got this retro feel to it, and it's got, you know, like lots of tea and food and stuff that
Yeah.
I kind of want to live in this university town on a desolate platform floating in the atmosphere of Jupiter.
Yeah.
You're really making me want to get back to reading that, because I did start the first one and I liked it, and I just never got back to it.
I enjoy
I have it in the pile.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, so I also read Ray Bear by Jordan Ufueko and really liked it, and I'm planning on reading book 2 for Magical Readathon. And then I started this last night, and I'm not super far in, but I'm enjoying it. I find the writing pretty accessible. It's The Latinos of Asia, How Filipino Americans Break the Rules on Race. I had seen the author talk about this book on Twitter like ages ago, and I finally realized, I was like, oh wait, I work at a university where I can access this via my consortium, so I might as well just do that.
When was the year it was published, by the way?
It was published in 2016.
Because I just saw that I was watching this movie about people going on a hike, and there was a character who was reading that book.
It's from
the movie.
It's from 2016, and like I will say, it was a little bit of kind of like a punch to the gut, because the author's kind of talking about the relationships between Latina folks and Filipinos in terms of like being influenced by Spanish colonization. And he's talking about like, you know, people who are Mexican being like, oh yeah, like I've hung out with Filipinos and they're just like, it's like hanging out with other Mexicans. And then he talks about Junot Diaz.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, we're still a few years out from like.
There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, it really was kind of like, oh, this really was published 8 years ago.
Oh God, 2016 was 8 years ago.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
No, let's not talk about the passage of time.
Anyway, so yeah, that's what I've read and what I'm currently reading.
Like speaking of like 8 years ago, like when on my birthday, I realized like I'm the meme of like when your birthday starts to start with a 2 series of a number. I'm like, yes, it's me.
I think it's my turn to talk about what I've been reading, and I have been reading so much still, and not as much as I was reading in February, but let me go to Goodreads just to like count here, because my reading is still like on a great great little tear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I read 5 books so far in March. I'm not going to talk about them all because that's a lot, but the best one so far has been Sea Sparrow, which this was the book that I started reading immediately after Hugo nominations closed and I no longer had to read books published last year. I was so sad that I didn't get around to this in time to nominate it for the Lodestar last year. This was great. I loved it. This is now the 5th Graceling Realm book, and I actually really hope this series isn't over. Do we know for certain? Like, has she said if she's ever going to publish more books?
I know. I'm not sure if she does say in advance. They just sort of show up and they.
Because her next thing she's publishing is not a Graceling Realm book. It's a something else.
Is it related to like Jane Unlimited or something?
I don't
know. It's like contemporary YA, but it's taking place in like 2020.
This is very different from Winterkeep, but I think I liked it just as much. Winterkeep had like a whole bunch of POVs. It was sort of big and sprawling and political. And this is all from Kava's POV, and it's in first person. I don't remember if any of the other books were in first person. I can be like a total sucker for first person narration when it's a book that is like a deep character study, which this one is. And that's something that I don't feel like we've quite gotten to this extent in any of the other books in this series, where we are just so deep in Hava's psyche and spending time with her being a difficult person. And I loved it so much. It starts off on a boat and then it's not on a boat. I do feel like the middle kind of dragged a bit, but it was also sort of necessary. And then by the end, we're, sort of a little bit back in civilization. But you get so much of her relationship with Bitterblue. You get so much of her backstory. I loved this. This is just like, both this and Winterkeep were top-notch YA for me. And I do hope the series isn't over. Like, I would be fine if the series were over. They're all sort of companion novels. It never really feels like there's an overarching political plot that's building to something specific, which is interesting because it feels natural for me in a way that series that are like multiple books with political intrigue building to some hurrah, we saved the world thing always feels a little artificial to me. So this story structure kind of works better for me, but also like I can't quite imagine what a next book would be about. It would kind of have to be a tangent from here, which all of the books kind of have been. I would love more in this series. I would take anything. So that was great. 5 stars. We get more of the blue foxes in that one too. So wonderful magic telepathic blue foxes. I did finish reading this trilogy, the Tinkered Starsong trilogy with Dome 6. I didn't love this quite as much as the first 2. It was still good. I still highly recommend this series. This was 4 stars for me, though, whereas the first 2 were 5 stars. This wasn't quite as much of a feel-good book as the first 2. It went heavier in some ways, and I wasn't totally on board with 100% of the things about it, but I still really like this whole trilogy, still recommend. And then, gosh, what else should I give a shout out to? I did finally read A Taste of Golden Iron, which was the other thing that I picked up after I was done with Hugo nominations. 4 stars, pretty good. I have quibbles, but like quibbles. I really like Alexandra Rowland's writing. I've read all of their books in this world published prior to this one.
I think there's gonna be, because I saw that it's like a new series basically. This one, there is a like a there's a like a
there's a self-published
1.5 novella that's like basically a sequel.
Yeah, so now I've got to get my hands on that.
That's also on my radar that I want to read it, but it gives me hope that maybe there's gonna be a book 2 at some point. Fingers crossed, hopefully, because I would very much be interested.
I would read a sequel to this, yeah.
I mean, I don't think I would want a direct sequel, but I want to be back in that world and in that time period in that world with the characters. In
that, like, country, like...
Yes.
That this is set in.
I would not necessarily want a direct sequel that follows from the same story, but I would want to follow the same characters, like maybe a couple years later in a different kind of political maneuver.
It's very interesting for me.
I want to know the aftermath of what happens after the end.
This is true. The thing that bugs me the most about that ending, and not like bug in a bad way, but it just sort of ends before a confrontation is supposed to happen. You're like, oh, what? But what did she say?
Exactly.
I feel like it's hinting so strongly that the confrontation is not going to be as much of a confrontation as the characters think it's going to be. But I want to actually see that happen.
Yes.
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 Jeez. So I will have to get my hands on this sequel novella and read it and report back.
Yes, and let us know if it answers that question.
Or if it follows completely different characters.
But so I did read this, and then I read, yes, Running Close to the Wind comes out later this year, which is going to be the second like romance novel set in this world. All of Roland's previous books set in this world were not romances. So like I had read Conspiracy of Truths, Choir of Lies, and like the self-published novellas that all came out previously, and none of those are romances. So I was very interested to see this turn in a more romancy direction, and Running Close to the Wind is also a romance novel, but like not in a direct series with any of the other books. Like,
well, I will read it.
Truths, Choir of Lies, and then one of the novellas, blanking on the name of it.
I still need to read A Conspiracy of Truths. I bought it when it was published. I have the hardcover edition of it and everything.
And one of the novellas are all a companion series that share one central character through 3 books, who is a supporting character in 2 of them and a protagonist in one of them. And then there's another novella series that so far has 2 novellas all set like near or around one specific kingdom that has a specific set of gods. So, but yeah, Alexandra Rowland is so prolific. I can't keep up. I keep trying to keep up and I keep failing. Wait, I need to hide this comment because we're done. We're moving on. One of the main characters in Running Close to the Wind is the thief from A Taste of Golden Iron.
Who's the thief?
I'm trying to figure out what character you're referring to. I don't remember. A thief. Wait.
Like the one who ambushes them in the like which one? There are like 2 separate instances where I could like. Huh?
I don't remember a thief in this book. Can you name the character, Carrie D, please? And I just read this book and now I'm questioning all of my sanity.
So the next one is coming out in June.
We never see them, but they ended up with the stolen documents. Oh.
Ah, no, okay, now I remember. It's like it's part of the conspiracy. Okay.
Got it. Understand. Oh, and that makes sense because the stolen documents regarded things to do with boats. And the next book is a boat book. Got it. Understood. Well, that makes me even more excited.
Isn't it the best when you've just read a book and someone references a thing that happens in the book and you're just like, I have no recollection of what this is.
I will say, though, never mind. I'm not going to say that. I had second thoughts. This is why I like to usually edit the heck out of everything and post on.
Kelsey, do you have other things you want to shout out, or do we want to talk about the Nebula Award shortlist?
I think I want to shout out. I'm currently reading. It's not here because it's in my room where I'm reading it. I'm currently reading A Fireborn of Exile. I don't know how I feel about it. It's been really slow for me to get into. I've been making like really slow progress on it while I've been like speeding through other books. So nothing really to say about that one yet. And I did want to shout out A Theory of Haunting by Sarah Monette, because I know we have Sarah Monette fans here.
Yes,
Mhm.
myself included.
Because I read this, and this absolutely is, I think, a horror novella, but it was something that really, like, I vibed with it very well. It's a haunted house ghost story. It's a thing where, like, fancy people pretending that they understand the supernatural fuck around and find out.
Does it have anything to do with Kyle Murchison Booth?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's a kind of like a companion to Bone Key then.
Do you
Yes,
need to
I have not read
the stories though?
any of the stories that are in the Bone Key. I think I have read another Booth story though that was more recently published.
Yeah, but the Booth stories aren't like they're not very strongly interconnected. They're like they're similar in tone to like if you've ever read or watched Mushishi, is like you have one central character.
Yes.
And then the story kind of like progresses, you find out more about the world, but the stories themselves are not really tightly connected.
Because this is Booth is the main character of this, and you don't really learn anything about his backstory in this. And
now it makes sense why it's published under Sarah Monette, because most of the Booth stories are published under Sarah Monette's own name.
And like now I kind of want to read the other stories to learn more about him, but also like I know they're also very spooky, so but
I'm not much of a horror person myself. I just always found the Booth stories to be more like kind of cozy horror.
Yes, there's a library in this one. He's cataloging a library in a terrifying haunted house that hates all of the people in it.
So are any of these stories collected, or are they just...
The Bone Key is a story collection.
Okay.
But I think there have been some others published since then that aren't in that collection, and I think the one that I've read is one of the more recent ones. Yeah, that's the one.
In these two.
So yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to that one. That's all I want to talk about. There are other books I could, but I think that's enough for now. Do we want to talk about the Nebula shortlist at all?
Yeah, let's. I just have it in the other tab here.
Okay,
there's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories, or no, 7 categories.
I'm gonna post it in the chat so people can.
Oh, they haven't. Since when has Nebula had an award for game writing? Has it been here
for a while?
For a while.
Why have I missed this?
Like the Nebula's.
Maybe it's because we never really talk about the game writing.
The Nebula's having a game writing award was part of the argument that Era was using to push the Hugos to get that game and interactive writing award.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. Maybe I just never really I've missed it because we never really, when we talk about the Nebulas, we usually talk about the novella and the novel categories.
So if we want to talk about best novel, the nominees are The Saint of Bright Doors, The Water Outlaws, Translation State, The Terraformers, Shigidi and the Brass Head of Obalufon. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I haven't heard anyone talk about that book really. And Witch King. Anyone have strong opinions? The only one of these I've read is Witch King.
I have not read any of these, but the people on here that I'm not surprised to see here are Anne Leckie, Annalee Newitz, and Martha Wells. And if I was betting, I would also say they're going to be showing up on the Hugo shortlist.
Wait a second.
I think
This
is a very interesting list. If this had come out before Hugo nominations had closed, I would have wondered if we'd see something similar for the Hugos, but I'm not sure. I've read or am reading all but 2 of them, actually. So I feel like it's kind of all over the place. Like, there are some books on this list that I thought were excellent, and there are some ones that were truly disappointing to me.
What was truly disappointing to you?
I had issues with Translation State, which makes me very sad.
And what was excellent?
Also, I did read Terraformers, and so little of it has stuck with me. But I remember getting to the end of it and being like, that was deeply disappointing. Like, just no.
Oh yeah, I knew. Like, Africa Risen has a short story by Wole Talabi, The Dream of Electric Mothers, which I really liked.
I've heard that. I've heard of that one. Yeah.
So I was wondering. I need to check that book out because I have read Wole Talabi's short stories. Very good, very good.
So I think with the Terraformers, the final part of it just got bizarre for me, and I was expecting something that would be much more engaging because I knew going into it that, like, researching for this book and writing it was the time period that Newitz was also writing for Lost Cities, which is their nonfiction book, and I think the whole idea of that is super intriguing. So I was expecting to get something more about the rise and development and fall of cities on a terraformed planet. And I thought it was going to be a lot more about the ecosystem and all of that based on the initial character. And then it just, I'm going to say it went off the rails. And if you have read the book, that is pun intended.
Okay.
Definitely not on rails anymore. So yeah, but I super loved Witch King, and I haven't read The Water Outlaws. I haven't read Shigidi, which I kind of want to though. And I'm currently reading The Saint of Bright Doors, and I'm about 40% into The Saint of Bright Doors, and I think now I can see why it would be on this list. I think it's a really interesting inclusion.
I would not be surprised if the Terraformers and Witch King for sure, unless Martha Wells has recused herself or something, but I would not be surprised if, like, 3 of these were on the Hugo.
I want to make a note that the Nebula shortlist announcement says that Martha Wells declined nomination for System Collapse. I could see the same thing happening for the Hugos, declined nomination for System Collapse.
Yeah, I'm expecting that too. Yeah.
Anyone else have things to say about?
So Book Terror said they listened to The Water Outlaws. I have been putting that one off because I haven't responded that well to the other kind of wuxia stuff that I've read by S.L. Huang. I've been very hit or miss with their work. So
I want to read it, but I'm probably going to library it. That cover is so pretty.
It is very pretty.
It is very pretty cover.
Cover.
And who's the artist who does that cover? Because I know I think I
think I know who it is, but I don't want to get it wrong.
Hold
please
on. I
remind
have
me
a
of the name.
copy near me. Let me grab it. Sorry, kitty cats. Fei Fei Ruan.
That's it.
That's the same artist who did the Becky Chambers novella.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
you have it right there. Who did Sea Sparrow's art?
That's Kari Huang.
Kari Huang. Okay.
Because she also does. She did The City Inside. She did sound the Joan He duology, Strike the Zither, Sound the Gong. The US covers of Daughter of the Moon Goddess and Heart of the Sun Warrior.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, sorry, I've still got your comment pins.
And I think it was specifically Burning Roses. That's the novelette that came out a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to read that and then I never did.
That's the one that I've read most recently that I just really bounced off of. And I don't know if it was the genre, that type of fantasy isn't my thing, or if it was the mythological retelling aspect of it, which I don't always get along well with, but
Well, we know that wuxia is definitely not the problem because, like, for example, we've all liked the Nivo novellas, which are decidedly wuxia.
Yeah.
Same as
yes. Well, Into the Riverlands certainly.
Into the Riverlands is like all of them have wuxia elements.
Okay.
I still haven't read the second one. I jumped straight from the first to the third and didn't go back. Whoops.
I mean, all of them are great. I mean, Into the Riverlands is like the most, like, obviously, but like all of them. All of them are in the genre.
Was my least favorite.
And I quite enjoyed it. I liked it more than When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain.
Another thing, like from a different author, but the Tenseret series by Ji Young is also wuxia, but like more like wuxia steampunk.
Mm-hmm.
It's been
but very much in that genre tradition.
If we want to move on to the Nebula Award novella shortlist,
I was hoping for fewertour.com.
Is our betrayed husband
isn't
tour.com.
Which reminds me, at this point, if you haven't already, Neon Hemlock is hosting the 2024 novella collection Kickstarter right now. So
oh yes.
So
there's one with a particularly intriguing title that has to do with cheese, and I'm like, I need this book.
Yes.
Just based on title alone, I'm sold.
Just a moment, I will link it in the
Please, someone remind me what the cheese title is that made me say I need this book immediately. Give it to me now.
I knew it had launched, but I hadn't looked at the titles yet. So
the cheese one was the Transitive Properties of Cheese by Anne LeBlanc.
Yes, I think it's science fiction. Science fiction cheese.
And this is the, if anyone wants to, this is the Kickstarter page. So Kelsey can link it if
yes, I can.
Anyone wants it. I had completely forgotten that I had backed also the 2023 Kickstarter. I had thought that I didn't, and then I started like getting the rewards, and I was like, oh, I guess I backed it then. I should probably read them. I've just been like pushing them on the e-reader, and I'm like, yeah, at some point. Because I really enjoyed the 2022 novellas, like a lot of them that came out.
But the Nebula shortlist for novella is The Crane Husband, which is Tor.com, Ling Hun by Ai Jiang, which is Dark Matter Inc. Not familiar with that publisher, although I have heard of this book. Thorn Hedge, which is Tor. Untethered Sky, Fonda Lee, Tor.com. Mimicking of Known Successes, Malka Older, Tor.com. Mammoths at the Gates, Nevo, Tor.com. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Tor books and one that's not, that is, yeah.
I will say I want to read The Crane Husband. That's been on my radar, and I really want to get to it. Should probably check if it's available at my library.
Has anyone read Untethered Sky? Because I haven't heard anything
I haven't heard anything about it either.
much about it. Like, I knew it came out, I knew it existed. I just haven't heard much about it. There's so much buzz for The Mimicking of Known Successes. Like, that has to be on the Hugo shortlist. And I think Thorn Hedge as well, probably, but I don't know about anything else.
I think Mammoths at the Gates is gonna definitely be on the Hugo shortlist. Based solely on Nevo's previous track record.
And then
I'm really interested in the Neon Hemlock Kickstarter for their next novella series. I love the cover art of all the ones they have so far.
Mhm.
Sorry, I need to bribe the cat again because he's eating cardboard.
Oh no, don't eat cardboard. Cardboard is not for cat. I think they've added covers to things since I first saw this Kickstarter, because I just opened it and like, yes, there's new cover art that I had not seen yet.
Woo! I backed it.
Whee!
Whoops. Heard mixed things about it, mostly that it's too much for the page count. Is that Untethered Sky, which I asked about? Presumably. Thank you for chiming in. Do we want to talk about do we want to novel?
I mean, the only thing I have like very strong feelings about is the Andre Norton Award.
Yes. Okay. So my question about the Andre Norton Award is, why does it have a different number of nominees every year?
Yeah, and my question is, why does this not look like anything a real teen
would read? Okay, so let's read this, because Andre Norton Award for middle grade and young adult fiction. To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monica Blackgoose from Del Rey, which is an adult publisher, publishing adult books. And The Inn at the Amethyst Lantern by J. Diane Dotson from a publisher called Android.
It's also 29 of God's Own dollars, which is an adult price.
Liberty's Daughter by Naomi Kritzer from Fairwood, which is a small press I am familiar with, and I do know people who've read this book and described it as YA.
That one, I will say, I'm going off of price points as well. I think this one is a little bit hit or miss, because looking at, for example, the blurbs are all adult authors. It's not no YA authors. Like, Naomi Kritzer has written YA before, but the price point is for an adult paperback, not a YA paperback.
On the other hand, like, I could totally see an author like her writing this book, you know, to be YA and not being able to get it published by a YA publisher, because honestly, the Catnet books did not do particularly
The
Well,
only book on here that I like is 100% middle grade is the
Is
last one, The Ghost
The
Job. Like,
Ghost Job by Greg Van Eekhout. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce that name, from Harper, and that is a middle grade book. Congrats.
yeah, that is 100% the only book on here that belongs there. Baby!
He was trying to steal the my ball of yarn. Immediately tried shenanigans after finishing the dreamies that I gave him.
Yeah. But
But-
seeing this shortlist is already making me like preemptively annoyed at what the Lodestone shortlist is gonna be.
Yeah,
Oh yes.
very much. Also, does anyone know why there are only 4 nominees and why there are a different number of nominees in this
Nope.
category year to year? What the heck? I don't understand.
Well,
Does anyone who actually knows how the Nebula Awards work?
I mean,
isn't the Nebula Awards like do authors nominate?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
in the-
Nebula.
Sifla, so it's authors or professionals, you know, in the industry.
I would love to know insider knowledge on why there are only 4 books in this category.
Could be something about the rules, like if there's a tie for the last place, like it just gets dropped or something.
I'm surprised that
There should
I
be
have heard
6.
none of these ever.
There should be 6 nominees.
I've heard, so I haven't read it yet, but I've heard really good things about To Shape a Dragon's Breath. And like from people who've read it, it does like ALA has yet to release the Alex Awards long list. They've only released the winners, but this is one where I would be shocked if it wasn't on the long list, because I've heard it reads like something that teens would like, but it's published by an adult imprint. Like,
I also want to just say it's supposed to be, I haven't read it either. It's supposed to be the first book in a series, right? And, you know, when a first book in something is published that feels YA but is from an adult imprint, that gives the author the ability, if they choose to make the characters get older and have the series progress past that YA feeling.
mm-hmm.
If they want to. Don't have to. But like that's something where like I would feel all sorts of, you know, not angry. I would have feelings about something that was maybe YA feeling, but not YA, like winning YA awards and then like having the series go on to not be YA. Not saying that this necessarily will do that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not feeling the most articulate today in case.
No, I get what you're saying. But yeah, the Norton Award shortlist is just on a whole incredibly disappointing for me. But I feel like I'm always disappointed when it comes to how SFF community interacts with YA in middle grade.
Mm.
I've never paid attention to the Andre Norton Award in the past. I'm sort of curious, is it always like this?
Let me look up Wikipedia because they probably have.
I
It
have
is-
some things to say about the next category though.
Okay, so going back, so last year Darcy Little Badger won for Snake Falls to Earth, and I would say looking at the list. Oh, sorry, it was Kay Tempest Bradford for their middle grade. And all of the ones for last year, there were 5 nominees. They all look YA middle grade. Same with the year before and the year before that. Like, they're actually, I think what's disappointing for me is that the Norton Award is normally pretty good about this sort of thing. Like, 2 years ago, we had the winner of Snake Falls to Earth, and then the other nominees were Iron Widow, Redemptor, Root Magic, Thornwood, Victory is Greater Than Death.
And most importantly, I don't think Naomi Novik was nominated.
No, like, yeah, this year is just really frustrating because like I said, they're pretty good about nominating actual
felt-
YA in middle grade.
I felt like last year, and I've talked about this before, was a year where, sorry, I'm having stuff going on. Last year was a year when not a lot of like mainstream YA SFF titles really like broke through to large readership, really. And got a whole lot of attention. And I feel like we're seeing the effects of a year where adult SFF readers were not aware of the YA being published. That's my personal feeling. And whether that's because TikTok finally discovered adult romantasy and ditched YA, or because
I like that theory.
Yeah. Or because not enough like hugely popular YA authors had high profile releases last year, or like what have you. It seems like last year was a year where not a lot of YA releases made it through.
Well, and so here's the thing. The one book that I'm shocked isn't on here is one I'm not going to name because it's a St. Martin's Press title, but both the books in the series came out last year and they were massive hits. Well, I don't know. From what I've heard from
yeah.
It's the one by Rebecca Ross.
Yeah. Did the second book came out last year? I thought it came out beginning of this year, but
No, it came out late. I think they bumped it up.
Oh, I'm looking this up. You're right.
So how long has the boycott been like?
A long time.
Because maybe that might be one of the reasons.
But I'm also surprised, like I thought A Study in Drowning got a huge amount of hype.
Yeah, that's another one that I'm a little shocked isn't on. I feel like for me this year kind of shows the real disconnect between the Writers Association and like Book Talk and book
general readership.
And I don't think it's to do with, the quality of YA. I think there's always a lot of mediocre YA published, and there are always some really great gems. I feel like I can never be the person who like comes on the internet and says, I'm done with YA. It's all trash, when occasionally books like this come along, and these tend to be some of my favorite books I read when I hit upon great YA, like they're my favorite books.
See, for me, I think the whole thing is like every single genre and every single like age demographic produces mediocre schlock, but I feel like YA specifically is always the one that has the burden of proof to prove that no, there's something else than schlock here, which I think is really unfair when we have like
and it's
stuff
really
like Terry Goodkind
to feel like
in fantasy.
This is like the second time in like conversations I've been in that someone has been dunking on Terry Goodkind, and it's
Come on, it's very easy to dunk on Terry.
Oh, like I fully agree. It's just like very funny that like just two very separate conversations had this dunk.
Like Terry Goodkind and David Eddings are the two people that I will always dunk on when I need to bring up schlock.
I mean, if I want to be controversial, Brandon Sanderson. I mean, not controversial in this group, but like.
I mean, I could also talk about the Schmalazan that I will not also mention, but I mean, there's plenty to be had there, but I will not start internet arguments with strangers.
It's okay. We can do some dunking in our group chat.
Yes.
Rhea, did you say you had lots of things to discuss about the game writing?
Well, I have like two things because
if you want
do
to
you
like
want-
lead a discussion on the game writing category, because I have nothing to say, but I need to.
Well, first
run
of all, I
away
am
for a
very
little bit.
happy to see that Alan Wake 2 got nominated. Hooray, Finland! Like Remedy Entertainment obviously is a Finnish game studio, so I'm always very happy when we get some like what's the word? I like Alan Wake 2 is obviously targeted towards an Anglosphere like market, but at the same time, like all of Remedy Entertainment's games, even though they are very heavily inspired by US and UK, like Anglophone culture, they have very like Nordic noir like roots. So I'm very happy that it made the list because like Alan Wake 2 has not been a very big commercial success, mostly because Remedy Entertainment made a deal with Epic Games Publishing to exclusively publish through their store, so it's like hindering them on sales, which is like very bad in the same year when Baldur's Gate 3 came out and is basically just like busting like every sales record everywhere, and also bringing a completely new wave of gamers into video games, or into this specific type of game. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm still rooting for Baldur's Gate 3 because that has been my favorite game of last year and also this year. And like I've been really enjoying playing it. But it's nice to see Alan Wake there. Also, I did not know that Nine Fox Gambit had a role-playing game released based on it.
Oh.
Yeah, it seems to be like a tabletop role-playing game based on the Nine Fox Gambit world, which is interesting. I would like. It's very hard to start a campaign nowadays in like a role-playing game because like then you need to like try to schedule with people like, okay, when are we gonna have like a group and like that everyone is able to attend and stuff. Even remotely, it's like super hard because like people have jobs and stuff. Like how dare they? But like it's interesting. I would be interested to play a campaign in the Nine Fox Gambit world. And the other ones I actually do not know that much about. So The Bread Must Rise and
What?
Yeah, The Bread Must Rise. Stuart C. Baker and James Beamon are the writers, and Choice of Games is the publisher.
I want to know what that game could be about.
I will Google it. The Bread Must Rise. It's a video game.
Is it literally about making bread, or is it that false advertising?
Interactive comedy, fantasy, baking, eldritch horror.
Oh, I don't want eldritch horror.
So it is, I think, a mobile game that is like an interactive choose your own adventure game. If I am understanding correctly.
Huh.
The art style looks pretty cool though. Seems to be on mobile as well as on PC. Yeah, because you can get it for Steam. And it's also for on Android and iOS. Yeah. In this magical baking contest, you'll team up with the Queen Undying to bake your rivals into an early grave. That sounds cool.
Wait, what is this?
The Bread Must Rise is one of the game finalists.
Bread Must Rise.
If it hadn't been called Eldritch Horror or whatever, I would have gone for that. Maybe what I need is a very simple game that's just about baking bread.
It says
okay, so if you want a simple game,
based.
If you want a simple game, Unpacking is a really short game that has like absolutely amazing sound design, but it's basically like you're unpacking and arranging furniture or like arranging stuff, and you're trying to get everything placed in the correct-ish location.
Is this a game I can play on my phone?
I don't know if it's a mobile game, but you can probably get it on your computer. But
It
like,
seems like this is a text-based game.
Unpacking.
I've heard you mention that before, I think. Or somebody has.
oh, you can get it on your phone. It's like $9.
I asked, if I do everything on my phone, I never sit here at my computer unless I'm doing a live show or taxes.
See, nowadays I sit on my computer less, but when I do, it's for Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, it looks like they have a mobile version as well.
Now I need to check something out because
Yeah, it's just like it's a very soothing, quick game. They did an absurd amount of Foley design for it. Like everything has a sound depending on like where you're, and it like changes depending on like the type of surface you're putting it on.
oh
Is it
no!
worth $10 to get, though?
Yes.
I realized something that Darkest Dungeon 2 came out last year. I could have nominated it for the Hugo Awards and I didn't. A missed opportunity. I had one free spot on my slot as well.
Oh,
Does anyone know when we're getting the shortlist?
no.
Hopefully soon. I want to be able to read the stuff in as many categories as possible. But yeah, I have nothing else to say about the Game Awards.
Okay.
I hope Baldur's Gate is gonna win it because
We are
like
almost...
it has been a commercial, a critical, and all kinds of successes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I have qualms about certain aspects in the game, but it's like so like I just love how it has basically managed to like bring so many new types of gamers into this genre of gaming. Because all of the like romance girlies and like everyone has been enjoying this game.
Do we want to talk about the dramatic presentation category for the nebulas, or do we want to talk
We have about 10 minutes.
instead? Or
Yeah,
just...
we're almost at 2 hours, and I want to talk about Dune Part 2.
Okay,
Ah, yes.
so that's
I'm
the end of the nebula shortlist, and let Rachel talk about Dune Part 2.
not sure that I have a lot to say other than this is the first movie that I went to see in theaters since 2019, guys. And not only did I go see it in theaters, I went alone, which is only the second time in my life I've ever done that. I know that's not radical for most of you, but it is for me. Anyway, loved it. It was also, I mean, we're getting into the trippy part. Maybe this was written on acid in the 1960s stuff
Yes.
from Dune. And I thought it was a really good adaptation.
I will say that I also enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than the first one because I felt like in this one I did not really feel the time of the movie.
Uh-huh.
However, I will say that especially with the current well, obviously this is in hindsight and stuff because this was filmed way before, but even like especially now with the current political situation happening between Israel, Palestine and stuff, I feel like it is incredibly telling and uncomfortable watching this movie and knowing that not a lot of the extras and there's not a lot of Middle Eastern people in front of or behind the camera that has been working on this movie,
Where was
which is
it
sad,
filmed?
which is kind of sad because considering that this whole story of Dune is inspired by Middle Eastern cultures. And we can also talk about the how it does not really manage to subvert a lot of the Orientalism of the original source material. That said, with those caveats, I do enjoy the movie, and I do think that it's worth a watch, especially if you you're not supposed to root for Paul Atreides.
And that is what I liked about the way the story has been changed somewhat. Can we talk spoilers, or should we not? do that.
Let's
I'm
not
probably-
talk. I would not.
I'm
talk
probably not going to watch because I'm still insanely bitter about spending money on Blade Runner 2049 and just it being so beautiful but so vacuous at the same
Wow.
time that I don't want to watch his other stuff.
He did Arrival too. Have you seen Arrival?
No, because like
Arrival was
Arrival is amazing.
Arrival, and then I saw Blade Runner 2049 and I'm like, this is bad.
No,
I
DNF'd the book
disliked.
Dune in high school and have never returned to that world.
Anyway, Arrival is fantastic, and it does adhere pretty closely to the original story by Ted Chiang, which is very good. It is excellent. I love that movie. It is one of the best science fiction movies I've ever seen in my life.
Wait a minute. Did Denis Villeneuve also direct the other? What the hell has he?
Anyway, I'm very curious to see, like, there has to be a part 3. I hope it's not like 5 years
Does
from now.
Part 2 get to the end of the book?
No. Well, yes,
No?
and
Yes.
well, there's
Yes.
Dune Messiah is supposed like he wants to film Dune Messiah as well.
Now, he has changed the timeline. Like, the events are much more compressed. The events that happen in the movie Dune Part 2, in the books, they take place over years.
In this, it's more like
7 to 10
in
years.
a year.
But yeah, in the movie, it takes place over like 1 year. And because of that timeline change, there are some events that had to be done in a different way, aka that Baron situation.
Mhm.
And I like how I think that emphasizes more that Paul Atreides is not necessarily a good person. Like, he more directly does some things. But also what they've done with Chani's character. This is what I want from Dune Part 3. I want to see, I mean, the whole, like, the ending shot of this film is Chani.
Yes.
And I want to know, what does she do next? What if they don't adhere to the tragic love story and let her go off and do something completely different?
I'm optimistic about like I really enjoyed this and like it was a very good experience for me.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it did not have naked Oscar Isaac, but like, you know, I will.
It has a lot more Zendaya. It has Zendaya shooting rockets at helicopter things and
Also,
like,
did any one of you see Zendaya wear the Mugler robot suit to the like Dune premiere?
I saw the pictures
She
and
looked
I have
fantastic.
have I seen Rachel Maxey's recreation of it? Yes.
Yes, I did see that as well. But yes, can I talk a little bit about the K-drama?
I want to say one more thing. I want to say one more thing about Dune Part 2. I did not realize that Anya Taylor-Joy was in this movie until the pictures from the premiere, because they kept it secret what her
Same.
role was. But I saw a picture of her at the premiere right before I went to see the movie, and I 100% guessed what character she was playing, and I don't know why anybody wouldn't have guessed that. Like,
Well, if you didn't read the books, you know.
I'm just saying, any Dune fan who knows the story will look at that actress and go, "Oh, I know who they cast you as."
Hey, Tama?
Yes, I started watching a series called Queen of Tears, which is about a married couple. So it's basically a Cinderella story. And once again, you have an heiress of a powerful Korean conglomerate family who has married a poor lawyer who like or like she's married a lawyer, but his background is from like more humble origins. And it was a love match, but in the present time, they have kind of fallen out of love. And he really like detests her family, especially, and detests her. And there are things that, and he's wanting a divorce, but doesn't really like know how to broach that topic. And then without going into huge spoilers, he finds a way out of the marriage that is not necessarily a divorce, and is trying to kind of make her fall in love with him again in order to achieve that. And accidentally ends up actually falling in love with her in the process. So I've watched 4 episodes. It's like 2 episodes. It's currently being aired on Netflix, so 2 episodes a week are coming out. So every Saturday and Sunday there's a new episode, and there's now 4 out. And it's so far been relatively good. Like, the relationship between the 2 characters is incredibly toxic once again, but at least I can see a potential way for these 2 characters to actually make it work. And
it's
like
better, it's better than the other thing you're reading.
It's better than the other because like there seems to be like an actual reason, like actual conflict why they fell out of love in the first place. But
Okay.
plus there's also the fact that there's other things than just their romance. So there's also this kind of like a potential business coup happening with the family.
Mm-hmm.
That there's someone coming in and trying to like oust the chairman out of the position of the conglomerate, and obviously late stage capitalism like critique because as per usual. But yeah, it's been surprisingly good so far. Hopefully it will continue to be that. Also, I finished Death's Game, which is only 8 episodes, and I'm not sure if I'm very happy with how it ended, but the ending did not make me mad. So it was like it started as a 4.5 star series, and it ended with a solid 3.5 stars. So I'm still happy that I watched it, but at the same time it's like it kind of did not stick the landing. Yes, marriages in crisis are not very common. Yes, this is true. I'm hoping that something happens. And so far, the cinematography, especially because the wife has this condition that she kind of loses sense of time. So sometimes she will find herself in a place and she has no idea like how she got there because she has no memory of how she got there. And the way those lapses of time are filmed, there's kind of like these glitches and stuff, and how it plays with like these disorienting camera angles and also color grading the footage is like, it's really good.
Do we want to skip to things we are looking forward to in the coming month in order to wrap this up in a timely manner? Anyone have any highlights?
I can't remember anything that's coming out.
Cherry Magic is having a like the 10th volume is out this month, so I'm looking forward to reading it next month.
Next month has some exciting book releases. Just, you know, on the Goodreads page for new releases in April from authors you've read. Things I'm looking forward to. Dragon Fruits by Makia Lucier is a YA fantasy novel that I've pre-ordered that I'm hoping will be good. The Practice, the Horizon, and the Chain by Sophia Samatar.
You ordered. Oh, I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping it's good.
The new Darcy Little Badger, which I'm not sure I'm pronouncing right. I'm going with Shane Lende. Has anyone actually?
I think it's China Lende.
Shina Lende.
I've also pre-ordered that, and I'm very excited because Alatsue was so good.
Oh yes.
And those are my excited book releases for April.
So this one is late March, but There's Always This Year on Basketball and Ascension by Hanif Abdurraqib. He wrote They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us, which was like one of the 3 books I read in February, and it was amazing. And I've read some of his other nonfiction work, and he's a really good author. So I'm looking forward to this collection. I think it'll be good.
Anyone else?
I mean, Delicious in Dungeon is still continuing simulcasting on Netflix, so I'm
need to start watching
very
it.
very happy for every single, like the latest episode. The animation was pristine. Like Trigger has been given so much budget with this. Like they're like, it's peak Studio Trigger animation. I love it.
I need to catch up again, so maybe I'll do that in the evenings this coming week.
It's so precious, and we haven't even gotten to my favorite characters yet.
Wait, there are more characters to be introduced?
Oh yes.
Oh, okay.
We have not met like we have not yet been introduced to one of the core group members.
Oh.
So they're coming. And then there's this other group of characters that's going to be introduced that's kind of like more antagonistic. And I'm excited. I can't wait. Also, I can't wait to hear who's voicing the captain of that group. So I'm excited. They're probably going to be introduced in the next couple episodes.
Oh.
Because you can already see them in the opening credits. You can't see any of their faces, but you can see like the backs of their heads and stuff.
Is that time to wrap it up for today?
Yeah.
Shall we go around and say where we can be found on the internet? Rachel?
Right now I can be found here in the live shows every month. I am on Blue Sky, but I am not posting much on social media right now because the world is hard and yeah.
The world is cruel. The world is wicked.
And I alone that you can trust in this whole city.
I don't know what this is. What is this?
Hunchback of Notre Dame had no right to go that hard.
Exactly. Tony J had no right to go that hard.
What is this?
It's the opening song for Hunchback. It's when Frollo is guilting Quasimodo for wanting to go out there.
I don't think I've ever seen that one, so
you have not seen Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Here's the thing. It's like one where as a kid I'm like, oh, like the gargoyles are funny. It's like Esmeralda's really pretty. Poor Quasimodo. Like I rewatched it when I was a teenager. I'm like, oh, this shit hella dark. Like
I watched it once with my parents when I was a kid, and it was highly memorable because my parents were like not amused with how dark it was.
Yes.
And then I watched it again as an adult. I'm like, oh, I understand.
See, as a kid, I was like, oh, the gargoyles were funny, and now as an adult, is like, okay, the gargoyles are hindering the story, but I forgive because the creators were under pressure from Disney to not make it as dark.
But yeah, Hunchback is
great music.
The music is phenomenal. They do such a good job of incorporating like organ music and like things that sound like they belong in a cathedral.
Yes.
Now I don't know if I want to see this or not.
You should. Like, if you have not seen Hellfire sequence, like animated, you have not lived. You have not lived.
So good. My favorite thing about Hunchback is more about the musical. The guy who plays Hades, Patrick Page, he was on the off-Broadway version as Frollo. And so if you listen to the song, it's like that deep Hades voice singing it.
So good. Anyway,
Rhea, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me also on these live shows every month, and hopefully in the next. See, I don't want to promise a timeline, but I do have intentions of making videos again. At least, like, let's put it this way: when the shortlist for the Hugos is announced, I will hopefully at least make the rankings for the short stories and novellas like I did last time I was active.
I just desperately hope that I have read things that show up on the Hugo shortlist because I'm not looking forward to cramming like at my current reading pace.
I am having a great reading pace, but I want to read things that weren't published last year right now.
See,
Yeah.
for me, I will probably do the thing that I did last time because work is super dead during the summer. Everyone is on summer break, so I'm basically just pressing F5 and seeing if anyone has any requests. And other than that, I just read on my e-reader.
Man, I wish I had that kind of job right now.
Di, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me still on Twitter. Blue Sky does not have GIF ability, so it is useless to me as a women's soccer social media site. So you can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Bookish Die.
And you can find all of my social media links here on my YouTube channel, where you already are. I am not posting on Twitter anymore, though, even though that link is still there. I'm on Mastodon. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube, although I have not been keeping up with YouTube videos either in my sort of post-cat slump. But I've been reading things. I have things to talk about. I have videos to film. And hopefully I will be making a sort of reinvention of my Instagram with, knock on wood, the new cat very soon. So I think that's all we got for today. I think we've...
Whose channel are we on next month? Is it Di?
Yes, it's me.
Okay.
So we will get back to you when we have determined when that will be.
And see you all then.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.